Ginny Weasley was small but mighty, and a very important part of Harry's story. But things would have been different if Lucius Malfoy had never slipped Tom Riddle's diary into her Transfiguration book. Before we dive into what could have happened, let's take a look at why the diary was so significant in the first place. At first, the diary bought from a Muggle shop by Tom, and it seems harmless. When Harry was taken into the diary and shown the memories of Tom Riddle, the diary wanted him to believe it was Hagrid who opened the Chamber of Secrets, and Tom who had stopped him. It was he who had found the Chamber of Secrets during his time at Hogwarts, and it was he who opened it, which led to the death of a student. Having been worried that Hogwarts would be closed because of this murder, Tom pinned the blame on someone else and abandoned his current plan. Instead, he left an enchanted diary which would complete his mission in the future by possessing and manipulating an innocent soul to do his dirty work. None of those things might have happened if Lucius Malfoy hadn't slipped the diary into Ginny's book in the first place. So let's discuss what impact it would have had on the rest of the story. Would it have an impact on her relationship with Harry? And most importantly, what would it mean for the destruction of Voldemort? It's pretty safe to say that there is a fair chance that the chamber would have remained closed in Harry's second year at Hogwarts. It's highly doubtful that there was anyone at Hogwarts who would have the capability to open the chamber, even if they did have strong anti-Muggle-born views like Draco, for example. So without the diary, the chamber might have stayed shut. Would the Sword of Gryffindor have been so important then? The Sword of Gryffindor was an important part to the plot of the Chamber of Secrets. It was what killed the basilisk, and as the sword is goblin-made, it was built to absorb only the which makes it stronger. Therefore, when the sword was used to kill the basilisk, it became saturated with its venom. Now this made the sword an invaluable object, as basilisk venom is one of the very few substances that can destroy a horcrux. Without it, the sword would not have been powerful enough to destroy one. If Ginny hadn't opened the Chamber of Secrets, Harry would probably have been oblivious to the sword, and it wouldn't have been as important. It was not just the hand of horcruxes that made the sword so special, it was also because of what it means. If Harry hadn't known about it, he might have never been sure that he belonged in Gryffindor. It was the decision he had with Dumbledore that led him to realize that it's our choices, rather than our abilities, that make us who we are. But how difficult it would have been to the trio without the sword during the Horcruxes' hands. If Ginny didn't have the diary, this would have left the trio with no means of getting rid of the Horcruxes. While we know there are other ways of disposing of one, it requires magic that is very powerful and often unstable. Faint fire is one example of this, though as we saw with the death of Crabbe, it was incredibly dangerous and almost uncontrollable. Even Hermione didn't think she had the skill to handle it. So if the trio had been able to discover another method for destroying Horcruxes, it would have taken them a long time to figure it out, and Voldemort would have remained powerful for a much longer period of time. It's also possible that Voldemort may never have been destroyed. Without the discovery of the diary, Dumbledore and Harry might never have known about the piece of Voldemort's soul concealed in it. If Lucius Malfoy had held into it for a couple more years, the diary would have been back in Voldemort's pocket and much harder to access. Voldemort wouldn't have let something so important out of his sight once he knew that his Horcruxes were under threat. Now enough talking about the Horcrux, let's see what would have happened to the victim. Would Ginny have become a strong witch? There is no doubt that Ginny came away from her experience with the diary and the Chamber of Secrets as more a flexible and wiser person. It was Ginny who was doubtful in Half-Blood Prince. When she found out that Harry had been taking orders from something someone wrote in a book, she knew just how dangerous it could be because of her experience, and was a lot careful and a lot less easy when it came to objects of unknown origin. Ginny would still have been as fierce as strong, even if she hadn't have been through any of that. This was the witch who had been breaking into the Weasleys' broom shed since the age of 6, and taking each of her brother's broom in turn to practice. She was also determined to be in the thick of things, whether that was as a member of Dumbledore's army, fighting underage in the Battle of Hogwarts, or her plans with Fred and George. Ginny Weasley had always been a strong and capable witch. While this incident might have influenced her personality, it didn't change who she was. Now, would Ginny and Harry have ever become a couple? Certainly, Harry and Ginny would have still become a couple. Even the Chamber of Secrets had not been opened. They still would have been very involved in each other's lives. She was the sister of his best friend. She was also a fellow Gryffindor. They were both members of Dumbledore's army. They both played for the Gryffindor Quidditch team. Their similarities were still there, and I think the attraction would have still grown. It's also worth remembering that it wasn't Harry rescuing Ginny that sparked her crush on him. She was already in love. She was the one who sent him a Valentine's Day card before the event of the Chamber of Secrets, and she had always been flustered and reckless in his presence. Overall, Harry and Ginny would have still been together. They had such similar interests. They both were excellent at supporting one another and knowing what each other needed. They handled decisions maturely, like their temporary breakup when Harry went to hunt horcruxes. So even without that awful shared experience, they still would have had many more moments where they would have got to know each other. I hope that was enough for today's video. If you have any suggestions, please make sure to leave a comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.